None of the students trained for so many years, Jian Suisun once said with emotion, none of the students trained for so many years can achieve academic achievements comparable to the masters trained in the Republic of China. Why can't our schools train outstanding talents? Over the years, Jian Suisun's question has affected thinking in all aspects. Here, I would like to use this experience as a reply to Jian Suisun's question. My understanding of exam education. Before expressing my personal views, let me first talk about my understanding of examination-oriented education. Exam-oriented education has a long history and broad social foundation in China, and the imperial examination system is a typical mode of exam-oriented education. Now, in order to achieve ideal results in the college entrance examination, most middle schools focus on the baton of the college entrance examination. From junior high school, students are required to study questions, especially mathematics, physics, and chemistry, classifying and summarizing question types. Some students even choose high-intensity rote memorization, the standard answer, knowing what it is but having no time to find out why it is. This is a typical phenomenon of exam-oriented education. Undergraduate teaching and postgraduate admissions in some colleges and universities still follow the exam-oriented education model. Is exam-oriented education unique to China? Of course not. Japan has it, South Korea has it, the US and other countries have it. But in general, East Asian countries put more emphasis on exam-oriented education. If you compare the college entrance examination with the SAT, Scholastic Assessment Test, which is equivalent to China's college entrance examination, then the college entrance examination scores account for far more weight in Chinese university admissions than SAT scores in American university admissions. Our country resumed the college entrance examination in 1977, regardless of family background, only based on test scores, which is a great progress in the history of modern Chinese education. Regardless of whether it is a rural area or an urban area, every year during the high school graduation season, hundreds of thousands of candidates perform their best in the examination room, use their strength to fight for future opportunities for themselves, and change the fate of themselves and their families. As the most fair and just talent selection model, the college entrance examination is very suitable for China's national conditions, and has also made important contributions to the construction and development of the country. As far as my own experience is concerned, I am both a product of exam-oriented education and a beneficiary of exam-oriented education. In my memory, I started to study hard in the 3rd grade of junior high school. Almost every morning from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., except for the meal time, I spent the rest of the time listening to lectures and doing questions, mastering various types of questions. Although I am more interested in mathematics and science, for the sake of the college entrance examination, I dare not deviate from subjects. In the 3 years of high school in Henan Experimental Middle School, there were 11 midterm, final, and graduation exams. I got the first overall score in my grade 9 times, and almost full marks in Chinese and politics by rote memorization. Exam-oriented education followed me through 4 years of university. When I was studying for a PhD in biophysics in the United States, I couldn't keep up with the logic of the biology class, and my grades were almost on the verge of failing. However, the solid mathematical foundation laid by exam-oriented education helped me regain my confidence when I was most difficult. Later, during the 5 years as an assistant professor and associate professor at Princeton University, I used the problem-solving thinking of exam-oriented education to actively choose scientific research topics with stable expectations and rich returns, subconsciously avoiding high-risk basic frontier topics. Sure enough, scientific research has been advancing all the way. From 1998 to 2002, as a corresponding author, I published more than 10 articles in the 3 top journals in the scientific world, and quickly established my academic reputation in my chosen research field. I have told visiting education leaders and American colleagues in the Department of Molecular Biology more than once, China's exam-oriented education ensures that students have a solid knowledge reserve and lays a solid foundation for their future development. This kind of training can make students benefit for life. Exam-oriented education hampered my original spirit to a certain extent. In 2002, I was 35 years old. This year, I got the tenured full professorship of Princeton University. Perhaps because I have reached the end of my career and professional title, I feel a little uneasy and lose some motivation to move forward. I also start to reflect on the mentality and thinking of the past 5 years, even from the beginning of studying for a PhD. In the next 5 years, I gradually thought deeply about exam-oriented education, and came to a conclusion that was avoided in my subconscious. I was influenced by exam-oriented education for a long time, and the habitual thinking of looking for standard answers penetrated into my bone marrow and every cell. Even in my independent scientific research career after graduating from a PhD, I still lacked enough adventurous spirit, and unconsciously avoided frontier directions with unknown futures, and often chose relatively conservative but relatively lucrative research topics. However, the frontiers of scientific research are precisely these frontier areas of exploration with unknown future and high risks. To be honest, the concept given to me by exam-oriented education has to a certain extent constrained my most precious original spirit in scientific research. In 2008, when I was just over 40 years old, I returned to my alma mater, Tsinghua University full-time, teaching and educating people, researching and exploring. This year, I made a bold decision. In terms of scientific research, my laboratory used a small part of its power to continue the scientific research projects from Princeton, and devoted most of its power to new, high-risk, exciting projects without any guarantee of success. An obsessive research direction. The first of which is the human gamma secretase complex closely related to Alzheimer's disease. The analysis of this structure may provide important clues for humans to understand and eventually conquer Alzheimer's disease. The second is eukaryotic. The structure of the biological spliceosome is an important step in the eukaryotic central dogma. Understanding its molecular mechanism requires clarifying its structure. The third is the structure of the eukaryotic nuclear pore complex, which is not the same as the spliceosome structure. It is called the two major worldwide problems of structural biology. The fourth and most ambitious topic is a key branch of quantum biology, the interaction between the human body and electromagnetic waves. When I first chose these directions, none of them had even a 5% chance of winning. I am neither sure whether these directions can produce results, nor can I predict how many years it will take to produce results, and even for some directions, I have no idea where the road is and what the key issues are. It can be said that this is the last stand of the Jedi attack and the willingness to gamble and admit defeat. The challenge of breaking the barriers of exam-oriented thinking and stepping into the land of scientific research is greater than I imagined. For 4 consecutive years from 2008 to 2011, almost all of the 4 main directions were broken, and no substantial progress was made. In stark contrast, those relatively conservative continuation topics have been smooth sailing, and high-level journal articles have continued, which has seriously frustrated those students who are lonely and courageous. Chicken blood. Encourage everyone to show courage and confidence to persevere. But at that time, even I was not sure about it, so how could it be possible to completely dispel the doubts of the students? I once seriously considered retreating, but the consequence of doing so was to completely abandon my dream, return to the main axis of choosing research directions with test-oriented thinking, and return to the old road of scientific research. I asked myself, what is the point of such repetition? Pros and cons of exam-oriented education. Innovation is to take a path that no one has gone before. After many times of inner anxiety and struggle, I strengthened my confidence and told myself that there is only one way to go, and that is to explore bravely. But going forward requires a strategy. I decided to concentrate my strengths and take the lead in breaking through the first research direction. 8 doctoral students were divided into 3 groups to tackle the problem of human gamma secretase. At the same time, I have made great innovations in protein expression methods. In addition to using the Escherichia coli expression system I have been familiar with for 20 years and the insect cell expression system with 15 years of experience, I also specially invite authoritative experts in protein expression around the world. Professor Florian Worm, from Switzerland came to Tsinghua to give a 3-day lecture on the method of transient expression in mammalian cells. The attempt of this new method led to a breakthrough in the first research direction in early 2013. We obtained a large amount of active human gamma secretase recombinantly expressed for the first time. With the help of breakthroughs in cryo-electron microscopy and analytical methods, he was the first in the world to analyze and report the high-resolution 3-dimensional structure of human gamma secretase in 2014 and 2015. Such persistence has also brought unexpected gains to our team. The second research direction was a surprise, and a major breakthrough was made in 2015. The 3-dimensional fine structure of the yeast spliceosome space at 3.6 angstroms was born, breaking the impossible to obtain complete splice body structure legend. When I was writing this review, several doctoral students and postdoctoral fellows were working hard on the third direction. They voluntarily gave up the reunion with their families during the Spring Festival, and made full use of the idle time of laboratory equipment to collect experiments for 14 consecutive days and nights. Data and made great progress. And the fourth direction, which sounds the most fantasy, has also made some preliminary original discoveries under the relay struggle of batch after batch of doctoral students and postdoctoral fellows. Now, I have passed the age of knowing my destiny, and I deeply feel that my memory is beginning to decline, and my understanding is not as good as before. Looking back on my 30-year scientific research career after graduating from university, I have a deep understanding of the pros and cons of exam-oriented education. If I go through the past 30 years with my current thinking, it is very likely that I will choose an interdisciplinary laboratory during my postdoctoral period to accept training and challenges in new research fields, and it is also very likely that I will work as an assistant professor during this period, choose more innovative and challenging frontier research directions, instead of paying too much attention to scientific research topics with strong feasibility and certainty. What needs to be explained is that my unforgettable experience is by no means a total denial of exam-oriented education, let alone its distinct advantages, that is, to strengthen students' mastery of basic knowledge and skills in a short period of time. However, exam-oriented education endows students with the inertial thinking and solidified thinking of looking for standard answers, which is likely to have a lasting negative impact on their future engagement in the most original scientific research and challenging frontier issues. Just imagine, if 100 well-trained Chinese scientists all choose more adventurous and innovative research directions, I believe that some of them will stand out and become the founders and leaders in some fields. But it is a pity that most people, like me when I was young, tend to choose safe and reliable scientific research directions. In contrast, Jewish scientists are more willing to challenge and choose risky and innovative research directions. Although the average scientific achievement of Chinese scientists in the United States is likely not lower than that of Jewish scientists, among the group of scientists who have made the most outstanding scientific contributions, Chinese are far less than Jewish. In my opinion, the conservative way of thinking that emphasizes standard answers and pursues established goals is the direct cause, and exam-oriented education is the root of this way of thinking to a certain extent. Many scholars who analyze the differences in education between China and the United States agree that the average level of Chinese college students in science and engineering is quite good, even comparable to that of students in some developed countries. This is largely due to the effectiveness of exam-oriented education. However, there is a dearth of top students with critical thinking and innovative spirit. This is also the phenomenon of high mean and small variance in Chinese education. In fact, this phenomenon is not only reflected in the quality of personnel training, but also in the research on scientific and technological innovation and core technologies. This is very detrimental to China's future innovation-driven development and seriously affects my country's core competitiveness in the high-tech field. Because the scientific and technological strength of a country does not depend on the average level of all scientific researchers, but on the level of top scientists. From another perspective, exam-oriented education focuses on ensuring fairness. Materialist dialectics tells us, everything is divided into two. An overemphasis on fairness can stifle excellence. Everyone is unique, and teaching students in accordance with their aptitude is to carry out corresponding education according to the characteristics of each person, so it will inevitably produce better results, just as only when 100 flowers bloom can they prosper. From this perspective, under the premise of ensuring fairness, the college entrance examination should give schools and students more autonomy, build a diversified talent selection method, and let some students who are talented and creative in a single subject but not suitable for the traditional college entrance examination system students can also stand out and enjoy the educational opportunities they deserve, thus making special and important contributions to society. It is gratifying that the new college entrance examination reform has gradually begun to focus on teaching students in accordance with their aptitude, which will greatly benefit the all-round development of students. This is my first article on Jian Suisen's question. If there is a chance in the future, I will further elaborate on my thinking on basic education. I sincerely hope that for the sake of the future of the entire Chinese nation, everyone can give up their inertial thinking and seriously look at and think about this issue.